Hey guys, it's Marta. Welcome to July Garden. Today I wanted to meet with you and talk about the gardening jobs I'm planning for the summer, and I wanted to show you a lot of blooms that are happening now in the garden. So let's begin. So this year has been extremely different to the other ones I remember. Since I've had this garden, I've had it for almost 18 years. Everything seems to be so fast this year. Everything bloomed earlier, 3 weeks earlier than normal for us, and that was the fastest year I can remember. So in my head, it's like I feel I just went into the garden in the spring. I started pruning my plants and suddenly everything started blooming so quickly, and suddenly we are in the summer. As much as I love gardening, when summer comes, I am less eager to go and work in the garden. I would rather go on holiday, or if I'm staying in the garden, I would much rather relax than work. But if you have as many roses as I do, July is the month to work a lot in the garden. The last video that we made was about pruning the roses, but I talked about the English roses and I did not talk about the climbing roses. Now is a perfect time to prune those that flower for the second time. If you have your roses that bloom only once, you can of course leave the flowers, let them dry out, and then you will have those beautiful rose hips that the birds can feed during the winter. But if your rose blooms twice, it's very good to prune it. I just take off the flowers after the second leaf and I let it do its thing. So when I prune my roses, I try to do a lot of things at once. First of all, I prune all of the spent flowers. This one will definitely need it very, very soon. And then I look for the unhealthy leaves. If there is some black spot, I will just remove those leaves and discard them. And I'm always fertilizing my roses as I prune them, so I remember which ones were fertilized. And then, of course, I'm searching for any signs of disease. If it has, for example, mildew, I will spray for it. But for black spot, I just remove the leaves. If I have a rose that is really suffering because of black spot, I will remove it and I will plant some other rose that is more resistant, because this is a disease that if I wanted to spray, I would have to do it all the time, and I don't want to do that in my garden. So this rose is a German rose called Blue Wunder. I got it as a gift with a bigger order of roses, and I didn't know where to put it, and I put it in the gravel. I didn't give it any compost, nothing. And this is one of the best roses in my garden. As you can see, most of the flowers are spent, but you can see the new buds here. They will be blooming very soon, so I will just prune it right above the bench that is always so beautifully intertwined with. We were just talking the other day about this rose and how much joy it gives us, and it's always surprising when you have a plant that is performing so well, and this rose will bloom even until the first frosts come, and it will push up new blooms, and I really love it. The only disadvantage is that there is no scent. So July is the time that I'm pruning the perennials that were blooming earlier, so like salvias. I showed that how I do it step by step in the previous video, but I also got questions, do I fertilize them too? It really depends. I will look at the plants. Some of them don't like fertilizing too much, so I'm always looking at the leaves. Do they look healthy? If a plant is showing me that it has some deficiencies, I will sometimes use the fertilizer, or if I can see the chlorosis on them, they lack some iron, I will just spray them with iron and magnesium. Sometimes when you look at your plants, some will lack some color. If you had a lot of heavy rain in the spring, sometimes when you fertilize in the spring, a lot of the nutrients will be washed deep into the soil and the roots will not be able to reach it. So it's good to observe your plants. If you see that the green on them is really like then I will give the fertilizer to the plants. But I'm really careful. Some of them really do not over fertilizing, and I really pick those ones that really need it. Now let's talk about a plant that is easy maintenance. I absolutely love it. If you ever watch any of my videos, you will always, I will always talk about this as one of my favorite plants. This is Geranium Rozanne, and not all geraniums are the same. This is the best geranium ever because it starts blooming in June and it will bloom until the frosts come. You don't need to deadhead the flowers. It will bloom whatever you do, it will bloom, and then it just crawls in the border. It will crawl on other plants, but it's very gentle, non-invasive. I absolutely love it. Whenever I have it, like, it will crawl on my lawn, or sometimes it will crawl on the plants I don't want it, then I will prune it. But in most situations I don't do anything to it, and I really love how gentle the flowers are. The bees love it all, the pollinators love it, and I think it's mine and Michael's one of our favorite plants ever. Behind me you can see one of my favorite roses. This one is called Jasmina. It has clusters of beautiful pink flowers and a very intensive scent. But this scent is not typical to a rose. I would say fresh laundry mixed with a sweet scent. I really love it. All the patio is covered with this scent, and it's really pleasant when you sit here in the evening and the scent is traveling through the garden. So also very healthy rose, no problems with black spot. I really love it and I would highly recommend it. As we are on the patio, let's go and see the flower wall, how it changed, and what I'll be doing with my annuals this month. So my wall of super petunias is growing every day. It is getting longer, there are more flowers. So now is a good time to check back on your plants. I will remove some of the dry leaves. Sometimes I will just shake the plant so some of them fall off. Sometimes I will take them by hand, but I don't like it because they are a bit sticky. So whenever I'm working on a plant, so I'm cleaning, then I try to assess the plant. So I check for pests, like you can find green fly or white fly on your petunia. And I'm also checking the watering. If it's fine, I always use my fingers. I check if it's moist enough, and then I check for pests. Ants love my pots, maybe not those ones because they are higher, but those pots that I have on the ground, sometimes they will have ants in it. So if I see those, I will also try to work with this problem, which is very difficult. And of course, then fertilizing. You have to do it consistently because those are really hard workers. They are constantly producing blooms, so they really need the fertilizing. I try to do it you should do it every week, but for me it's usually every 2 weeks, and then they look their best. Behind me you can see the part of the garden started glowing. It's my Annabelle hydrangeas. Let's go and see them. So this year my Annabelle started blooming almost 3 weeks earlier. This part is blooming as the first one because it gets more light. The more we get into the birch trees, there is more shade, but this is a very, I would say, light spot. It is not a deep shade, and I really prefer these conditions. If I had them in the really sunny position, they would have burnt flowers, and this spot is perfect. And the amount of flowers is really incredible this year. The only thing I did to them was prune them hard in spring and give them fertilizer. I've done nothing except for making all of those stakes so they don't fall over. Annabelles are one of the best hydrangeas you can grow. As you look at them, they just look beautiful. They are not in full bloom yet. They will be so white, they will be glowing. I absolutely love them. But the thing about Annabelles is when you have a really heavy rain and there is so many flowers, they will flop and sometimes they will break. I've been trying different types of stakes to keep them upright, but when the flowers are that heavy and they are wet, it is always difficult. So we'll see this year. Last year I've tried fiberglass rods that I shape into U shape. I have some longer ones and shorter ones, and I use them here and across this border, and it worked, I think, best from all of those types of stakes I've been using over the years. We'll see. This year I used more than last year, so hopefully when we get those heavy rains in summer, it will be fine. I'm crossing my fingers. When I look at my hydrangea leaves this year, I am thrilled. They look so good, but it wasn't always like that. In the previous years, I've had problems with nutrient deficiency, so you always need to look at your plants, and if they are fine, I don't do anything. I wait for the moment when I see that they need my help. If your leaves lack the color, they are not deep green, it's good to treat them for what they need. Sometimes I will start with the fertilizer for hydrangeas, and if I see the chlorosis, I will use iron and magnesium, because it usually helps for them to be happier. I was getting a lot of messages from people that were saying, oh my god, your annuals look so good. Mine were eaten totally by snails and slugs. And this year in my garden, and from what I see from all of my subscribers, they are writing me hundreds of messages that this is the worst year they remember, and it's same in my garden. I've been using the ecological snail pellets that are safe for the birds, for the hedgehogs, and I've been just throwing it around my garden. I always go with the along the fence, and I just leave those granules there for them. But it's not helping like 100%, but it reduces the amount of them. Sometimes when some people say, you should sprinkle something that is coarse, and at night I go to maybe water the plants, and I can see, you know, my gravel area, it's really coarse, and they are just, the slugs are like, yeah, we are just cruising, babe. We don't care about this kind of material you're using here. So they are really tough guys, and we just need to be on check so not too many eat my plants. When the weather is good, it's also a good moment to prune your boxwood hedges, or any other hedges that you have in the garden. We've done that in June. Last year I was waiting for the perfect moment, and it never came, and I finally chopped them in August, I believe. But this year we had this window that we didn't have scorching sun, it wasn't super hot, and it wasn't raining too much, so then we did the pruning. But my ligustrum can be pruned again because it's growing so fast this year. Okay, now welcome to this part of the garden that is in the shade. This is my pot garden, and this year I tried to do it green, white and lime, and I'm absolutely loving it. Really something different for me, because I usually go for pinks, purples and whites, and this was something different. And I must say, it's really calming. I really love it. And what I love about this part is that we made all of the watering system for the pots, so I don't need to water them every day, which is lovely. I really spent last year like 2 hours a day watering all of my pots, and I was thinking about losing maybe some of the pots, and then I thought, no, I can do the watering system and I can have more pots. So that was a great idea, and I really love how it all turned out. Okay guys, now a July reminder. This is the last moment to sow your biennials if you're dreaming of beautiful foxgloves. So the one that you loved in the video that we had was Dalmatian peach. I really loved the apricot peachy color of it, also the whites. I love them. It's good to buy the seeds that you have a typical variety of seeds, because when you have your own, even if you have those peach beautiful ones, usually when they seed themselves in the garden, you will get the pink ones. So if you're longing for those beautiful colors, it's good to order the seeds now. Sow them. I sow them in pots because of the slugs and snails, and then we'll be putting them in the borders in the autumn, but now it's time to sow them. Okay, we'll finish the video here because I wanted to show you my Hummelo plant, Stachys Hummelo. I absolutely love the flowers, the pollinators love it. Today I've seen a bee fighting with a butterfly because of its flowers, so it must be really popular, and I really love it. Also, this border is changing. As you can see, those grasses are looking incredible, and also most of the coneflowers are starting to bloom. We'll do a video soon about this border and how it is changing throughout this season. I'm absolutely loving it. This is like a new baby to me, so it's really exciting. Okay guys, let me know in the comments if you have any kind of plague in your garden, what is blooming now, and tell me if you had some new discoveries in the plant world this year, like I had with the Hummelo plant. Maybe you bought something new and you're really enjoying this plant. Let us know in the comments which one is it. And if you like today's video, please give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!